when it comes to
Silas.
Silas there.
Silas.
So.
Oh, we know Sibyl's
Sibby.
ban. It was Wukong in the second round of bans. Yeah, so it was the Silas third, I think.
Okay.
If I'm not mistaken, from the Heretics. But the Callista banned away by the Unicorns, which means they could go for the Lucian themselves, but also that Aphelios that we talked about is now open and available.
Yeah, exactly. Heretics, what are they going to do in this position? They see that the Callista's now banned away. Do they just remove the Lucian, but then give over the Aphelios, maybe try and pick something into it? Do they just entirely leave them up and trade? I think these are the options flying through the minds of the staff and players right now. They're trying to remove away the Via. That's what it was like last time. And the Lucian first pick immediately. So they want that out of Jack Spectra's hands. Now, with the Wukong up, it was ignored last time. Will we see that one come through? Expecting the Aphelios, though, as this answer from Jack Spectra. Or will they also go towards the Poppy? I think there's loads of strong options still available.
I mean, you could do both right now, couldn't you? They've got the Aphelios available, very good against short-range compositions. And in game number 1, we saw nothing but short-range, basically, on both sides. The Aphelios will be locked in. And as you say, Poppy available. They could go for like a Trundle themselves. They could go for a jungler hit. They could also just lock in their bottom duo, right? Go for maybe something like a Lulu that can be really good for shutting down
Lulu, Renata, anything along those lines, right? Everything kind of works. I think they'll want to try and get their jungle now, just to see if they can get as decent a matchup as possible, just in case it doesn't end up being Lucian Nami, but it probably will be. There's the Wukong to try and sort of dissuade those kind of dives, which Aphelios can't always deal too well with.
And I feel like we're already seeing a very different style coming out from the Heretics, right? Where you've got this Aphelios and a Wukong very much leaning towards team fighting here already, which comparatively to game number 1 was much more about the early game, much more about skirmishing. So I feel like Heretics changing things up a little bit. The Nami has to be locked in. Feel like you need to go for your jungler here, perhaps something like that Poppy that we talked about, maybe a Trundle.
Yeah, Poppy, Trundle. Will they go towards the Sejuani as well? I feel like Sejuani was such a weak pick in game number 1. I feel like you just kind of leave it alone. I think you just answered, like you say, Trundle, even Viego, you can go as far down as that, even on this patch. Still okay for the skirmishing. If you're playing around the bottom side priority, like what we saw from game number 1, I wouldn't even mind that. They're going to go towards the Sejuani again, though. So let's see whether or not this actually ends up in Lurox's hands as opposed to Scarface, because it seems like Ibo has come prepared with many a tank-busting picks if he's willing to bring out that Mordekaiser in game number 1. So Heretics just playing with a couple of hovers. Ruby specials, of course. Vladimir, Kastin pulled out in group stage. Just kind of teasing, but yeah, Lulu, mentioned it earlier, Lulu Renata, anything that kind of buffs up this Aphelios makes too much sense to have her in.
Yeah, and also you can polymorph the Lucian, right? So it can't be quite as terrifying in the audience. It's so disgusting. Here we go, the second ban phase, and I feel like with the Sejuani locked in, you know, the Silas ban that we talked about, we misassigned where it was in the draft, but the Silas ban came through the second phase. And against the Sejuani, trying to ban some of the solo laners with melee range can be effective. But last time it was Scarface taking Sejuani up top, and Heretics are like, you know what? Let's just take away the Javelin instead.
All right, so, you know, immobile, AD carry and support, taking away the Javelin just makes a lot of sense, right? As there's an already engage coming through from the Sejuani, you don't want to have to deal with Sejuani plus Javelin diving in and then potentially having some kind of third diver with Ruby on any kind of pick, really. Could be Ari, could be Silas. We'll have to see how the bans fall through. Aatrox, again, a lot of respect to Ibo on that one, and Trundle will be taken away just as a means of, I suppose Heretics felt like potentially that the Trundle was causing them issues until, you know, Mordekaiser existed in team fights and could just snap him away. They go towards now. I think more engaged takeaways from Unicorns would make a lot of sense to me, because at the moment Heretics only really have the Wukong to work with, and I think if you can try and strip away some more engaged tools, that would make a whole bunch of sense. The Sandra, same kind of facet, a lot of team fighting to provide as well.
Definitely can be an engaged tool for you. That is an engaged tool too. The Ornn insta-locked here for Ibo. It's a champion who's not played that much this split, but historically over the years, Ibo, plenty of games on that Ornn to be talked about. And now Unicorns this time around. We'll see whether that Sejuani goes up to the top lane or is flexed to the jungle, and anticipate Scarface will still be taking that one. And Heretics feels like that's the way they're leaning. But Ruby has played the Silas before. Silas,
I love this more.
Massive priority in the LPL, and works with these melee solo lanes in a Sejuani jungle. It looks pretty good.
And you know what? I'm going to be real. I think Silas blind wouldn't be too bad either, right? I think into some of the pool that Zoya would be happy to actually bring into a team composition which Heretics are running, Silas kind of runs over it a little bit.
I'm just saying, in LPL, Silas is god tier. Ruby used to be an LPL player. I'm just throwing it in there.
Go back to his roots. Go back to his roots. Look, Silas just makes too much sense. You've got very strong ultimates across the board already to steal away, right? Wild Growth, probably the weakest one there. Maybe, oh, well, I guess Felios kind of stinks, but Cyclone, Orna ultimate too. Massive, but also Gangplank being able to kind of break apart fights with the Cannon Barrage, Barrels Watch, making things super awkward with Jack Spectra, but as well, even before that, the early laning phase, you kind of get a bit of a freebie. Early laning phase been nerfed for Gangplank. He doesn't really show his face too much like he used to alongside things like the Gwen, but still very capable of scaling up to a very powerful point. And Zoiru goes towards that Talia. Pick that surprisingly has been more absent than I would have thought, but still a very powerful roaming mid laner.
But across the course of this split, Zvero's played 5 games of the Talia, 100% win rate with a 6 KDA. This man knows how to pilot that Talia, and it's all about getting to those side lanes. But look at the scaling on the side of Heretics here. It feels like they're going to be waiting for a little while before they really come online in this game. And there's a reasonable amount of scaling for the side of Unicorns as well, but with a Lucian, with a Sylas, there's always space for skirmishing.
Yeah, always space for skirmishing, and they also have their own sort of late game insurance policy inside of the Gangplank. As long as they go, you know, sort of 30 minutes, 3 items come in, he's always going to be a bit of a menace in those late game team fights. And, you know, you say Heretics more about the scaling. Obviously, Ornn, Lulu, Aphelios, I agree, but Wukong Talia, man, no slouches in those skirmishes in 2v2, and we saw how much work Blurzo actually got done on the Wukong in groups when Zoiru was getting very heavily focused in the mid lane, always there to pick up the pieces. Not that there are often very many pieces to pick up because Zoiru played the 2v1 so well.
Yeah, we'll see how this early game goes as well, because I feel like we saw game number 1, it was like 4 minutes or something, a dive on both sides of the map simultaneously, and both teams kind of reeled from those punches and took a second, took a few minutes of just like, okay, let's not do that again for a moment. And then it all kicked off again. So now game number 2, Unicorns tried to make something happen at level 1 in the first game, but not going to opt for the same here, playing it safer. And both teams kind of coming at this game with a different angle. And I like that in a best of 5. I like to see teams showing that they're flexible.
Yeah, no, totally. So I was wondering how much Unicorns would kind of stick to a similar opening rotation, and in theory, they have done that, right? Sejuani's still there, just in the jungle now as opposed to the top lane. Aggressive bottom side focus to potentially try and shut down Jack Spectra and Whiten. And this time, a much more one-sided laning phase you'd expect from Lucian Nami. Once you get to the level 3, definitely seen Lulu and the Aphelios take over the first couple of waves just because, you know, green gun gives you, Calibrum rather, gives you so much range to play with in those early trades.
That was Jamada going from natural Jamada to caster mode Jamada there. Yeah. Green gun, Calibrum.
Calibrum, yeah.
Got to use the real words on this one.
Caster Jamada is so much different to regular Jamada.
Oh, look at this though.
Oh, hello.
Winsome and Shiganari. I don't know if they were spotted going into the alcove here. You can see the wards. Here we go. Whited already massively chunked out here.
I have your answer. They weren't spotted.
They were not. They were definitely not. But still, Heretics actually managed to clear the ward, and the Unicorns won't be able to. So actually fairly even. And Jack Spectra, plenty of HP to work with, and the range advantage from, as you rightly said, the green gun.
Oh my god.
Never mind. I'll take it back.
Sorry, you were saying health advantage, Munch.
I would say range advantage, but apparently not when he just walks up to Shiganari.
Yeah, it doesn't matter in the end. And definitely one thing to note, whilst it is longsword plus 3 pots, well, now 2 on either side of the bottom laners, it is Winsome with the sustain in this lane. So even if they do win quite heavily out in the opening trades, which right now, spoiler, they're not, he will get blown by Whiten.
Yeah, level 2 could be huge from the side of the Unicorns here. The minion's very low with Piercing Light. They could just finish someone off, but level 2 hit first for the Heretics bottom lane. Calibrum going to go slightly wide, just going to zone away, try and deny experience, deny CS if they can, but I don't think a single one has gone down there that Shiganari didn't have access to. There we go, level 2 on either side now.
Mid lane gank is actually what I was looking towards. Lurox wasn't pathing towards the bottom side earliest because he wants to get in this mid lane. Level 3 for Ruby now.
Zvero doesn't flash until late. Does get knocked back, and now he'll be stunned as well. Ruby's here with the chain lash, and Lurox makes it happen in the mid lane.
Yeah, really nice. And you can actually see this ward that Lurox is walking over, I think probably baited Zoiru into a bit of a false sense of security. And if Unicorn saw him fog down towards the bottom side and probably ward that, that's likely why this pathing came out from Lurox. Really smart gank, probably not anticipating an angle just then. Means that they get first blood for this Silas.
And this is the power of the Sejuani when you have melee solo laners. The E is procced so effectively and it means you can set up Ruby for that first blood. Now Ruby on a pick where you can really influence the game.
And not only that, the pick can kind of just get easier, right? Ruby still has flash over Zoya, who can go back towards the mid lane. A lot of trading going on down here. Cleanse.
Shiganari being forced away here. The Graviton. Oh, but the Calibrum wide after the dash there. Shiganari playing with fire on this one and struggling into the pressure that's coming out from this Aphelios.
Yeah, and now Blue Resort comes down towards the bottom side to try and capitalize on some of this pressure as well. Still flash available on both Nami and Lucian. Winston and Shiganari still have those summoner spells, but perhaps there's an invade that comes off the back of some of this priority. There's not a lot of health to work with Jack Spectra, but maybe if they can steal away the red buff, it's worth enough. There's no smite available on either jungler though. It's a health advantage at most.
Yeah, Lurok's being forced away here. Blue Resort getting a bit of revenge for what happened in game number 1. But it doesn't look like this is going to turn into anything too significant. Lurox goes over to his Crux. They're going to wait for recalls. Ruby doesn't know, but the recalls will be committed to. And we kind of return to the status quo here, but a solid lead here. 500 gold for the Unicorns at 4 minutes. Certainly a good start to this.
Yeah, and Zvyra's going to really have to manage his way very well now. I say this as we're hovering over the mid lane, because if he shoves up too far forward, quite simply, Ruby will flash on him, and if Lurox is there, it's very quick permafrost stacks to get down, and immediately Talia will drop down. Very squishy champion in the early laning phase. Needs a couple of defensive items, right? Things like Zhonya's. Sometimes see Crown come out as well.
Yeah.
Just to ensure that you don't get dove on and killed immediately.
Ruby hitting the level 5 here, and will dodge away from the seismic shove just about. Tries to find the re-engage, but will be ever so slightly shy on it. Scarface doing a good job on this top side, and you know, last time around he was up against that Mordekaiser, had the blind pick Sejuani and suffered in terms of those CS numbers. This time around, he's the one with a comfortable matchup. He's the one with a CS lead on this Gangplank, and Gangplank, one of those champions that, you know, used to just be a late game champion. They buffed up his passive, and now he's pretty terrifying at all stages in the game. Here we go, rooting the bottom side. Shiganari in trouble, and a great little trade out from Jack Spectra. Both players on the Unicorn side down to half HP, and Whiten. Fantastic polymorphs so far this game. Fantastic speed ups, and Lurox wants to play onto Blue Resort here. The stun comes on through. Seismic shove wide again. Ruby couldn't quite get into the play.
I love this though. Unicorn's just leveraging how strong this Sejuani Silas is in the early game, and it's only really going to get stronger, right? Once level 6 comes in, double permafrost stacks from, you know, just getting the 4 stacks, then immediately popping the ultimate. Ruby's going to have the Cyclone steal away. Quite enjoying how they're leveraging this 2v2, and outstaying Heretics, you know, with this Wukong, with the Talia, maybe they can try and get outside of lane, maybe try and, you know, utilize how strong this can be as a skirmishing 2v2. Sejuani Silas is just trumping it so heavily right now.
And I will say, I'm excited to see what Ruby can do. With, you know, he's got himself an early lead. He's on a pick like Silas, which really is one of these picks that you want to carry the game. You want to be the shining star of the team, which is not really the style we've seen from Ruby across the course of the year. Generally, it's things like the Azir, the Invicta, his Arya as well. Champions that will give a lot of damage in the late game or set up the rest of the team earlier on, but not usually the superstar role, right? And it feels like he's been kind of the rock of the team. He's been the insurance policy a lot of the time. But this game, bringing out the Silas, wanting to show off some of his mechanics and wanting to show that he can be a driving force.
Yeah, and in a game like this, where he's got so many proactive tools to be able to use, right? Talia ultimate to get to side lanes in the early stages, or not to get fights started for his team. He really is going to be the rock to have to deal with here. Chain connects. Blue Resort should be already.
That's 2 stacks already. There's a knock up and a flash forced as Ibo under the tower as well, and this time no Death Realm to work with, and look at the way Scarface can just let this push into him if he wants to. Ibo will have to sacrifice a lot of CS to help his jungler here. Ward over the wall, Ruby's here, but the knockup goes wide from Ibo, and Ruby just jumps on into the play. Damage onto Ibo. They're going to look for the stun here. Oh, he missed it. And it denies the ultimate. Now comes the cannon barrage and another flash forced. Ruby going in 1v3. It's a little bit optimistic from him, but it means now that Ibo's caught out. Lurox in a 1v1 though, gets the stun, can't finish skill. Lurox goes down, and it's a trade 1-for-1 here. As the barrel scares them away, Scarface backs off.
Yeah, crucially, the knockup comes through onto Lurox. Can't proc the permafrost % HP damage, and that's why Ibo survives a little bit longer. Bonus of it though, red buff and a kill onto the Gangplank, who was already winning in this lane, so he's going to be alright with that at the end of the day. But let's look at how this all unfolds, right? You had the initial engage, a nice kind of sidestep there from the Searing Charge. The ultimate comes through on Aibo, and Lurox sees the opportunity to just stun him up. I think he missed. It's hard to tell. That looks really weird, actually, in the replay. But flash away from Aibo. Ruby goes a little bit too deep. You can see on the bottom side, Lurox still chasing down the idea of where Aibo is because he saw him with Ruby's vision. And you're going to just notice, stun, does get the auto attack in, doesn't get the percent HP proc.
Yeah.
Scarface able to get forward, still picks up his kill.
Yeah, so Scarface flashing in at the last second there to make sure that the kill is traded. And look at the CS deficit. Here we go, calling in the bottom side. Shiganari. Big damage onto Jack Spectra there, but not enough to make it stick, right? Red-white available for Jack, but just a couple more autos on that red weapon until it times out. But still has the Q. You can use the full Q, even with just one ammunition, should a fight kick off on the bottom side.
Not quite a Jack Spectra game one culling, was it? From
no,
from Shiganari, but
indeed it was not.
I will say, despite what I was anticipating to be a lot of bot lane focus from Unicorns, it's actually been towards the top side, which I guess when you have such a hard-winning matchup on the top side anyway, leverage it.
Yeah.
It does mean, however, you are letting this Aphelios Lulu kind of scale up almost for free, and that could definitely be a bit of an issue when you look at Heretics with a relatively strong front-to-back teamfight composition. As now, focus on the Herald.
Are they actually just going to walk in and take this one free?
Surely
no,
not.
apparently not. Lurox is here, as is Ruby and Blue Resort. About 1 HP already. Goes for the Cyclone. In comes his top laner. How is he living this one? But Lurox still survives as well. And it's 2 easy kills coming the way of Unicorns. It looked a little dicey for a second, but the Herald should now be theirs.
Yeah, it should be theirs. For a moment, they looked like they were going to back off because Jack Spectra and White could have potentially rotated up all the way, but they show their face back in the bottom side of the map. Now, this Herald will be Unicorns. Really nice skirmish there. A lot of small things just going back and forth. Winsome.
Damage onto Winsome. The Calibrum so close to finding its mark, but ever so slightly wide. And that's all they need to do on the bottom side is just live through this lane because the top side is dominated.
Yeah, it really is. And I mean, you see here, I want you to actually pay attention to Ruby because he goes for the ultimate with the Ornn. Sworu denies it with the, I can't remember what the ability is called, but it just shoves him back. Seismic shove out of the ability, so he can't get the recast, but it just doesn't matter, right? Blue Resol's out of position too far deep in, 2 versus 1, eventually 3 versus 1, and Aibo as well ends up dropping. That's fucking war on Herald. Hey.
We'll see. We'll see what happens.
There they are. We found them.
Okay, a lot of pings on the bottom side. Jack Spectra, low on HP. Him and White in doing an amazing job in this lane. 10 CS lead for themselves as Blue Resort pushed out off the play once again. Drake has spawned. I mean, it spawned about 6 minutes ago. Nobody looked towards this one just yet.
I've noticed this. I feel like unless a team has like complete control of the bottom side and the Dragon is super free, ever since we've had these changes where the Dragons are a lot tankier, harder to kill in the early portions of the game, teams just kind of let them go, right? They don't really try and take them down unless it is like super free or it's effectively kind of almost a win condition for your team composition.
It just feels like it's a lower priority than other objectives. Like Herald gets you gold right now, and the towers get you gold right now, whereas the Dragon feels a little bit...
It's weird, right?
Later on. You know?
Yeah, it's strange because obviously Herald buffed up in value. You get more gold for taking it down now, both first and second. But the Dragon stats also did get buffed, right? It's not like there's no gold value in those Dragons either.
But it doesn't flash up yellow on your screen.
Oh yeah, it's the dopamine hit.
25 gold.
It's the dopamine hit of like seeing 160 when you share a Herald with a laner.
Exactly. It's the dopamine hit of seeing +86 when you steal your AD carry's cannon. Here we go though. Sparrow moving down towards this bottom lane. On this Talia, we wanted to see proactivity on the pick. We wanted to see him getting into the lanes. There's a Graviton to start it off. The Weaver's Wall and an ultimate out from this Aphelios. The rocks are landing. Sparrow just out of range though. Shiganari survives it once again.
Yeah, Sparrow not quite as patient as perhaps he should have been with that seismic shove, and now in the mid lane, Unicorns are going to respond immediately and potentially die. Blue Resor's gone!
The tower! Blue Resort just gets one shot by Ruby and Lurox. That's going to be 4 plates in the mid lane. Jack Spectra, though, answering in the bottom side in the meantime with Sparrow and White in, zoning away the enemy team. Red and White to get a bit more damage down, but he can't stick around too long here. So there is an answer. Lurox arriving. Ruby finishes the tower in the mid lane. That's 5 plates. Jack Spectra forced to flash. And oh my days, this is tense. This is such a close run thing, but 3,000 gold lead. Oh, the cannon barrage is massive. Lurix trying to get into the play as well. Vero the target, but a good seismic shove denies any follow-up from Lurox.
Yeah, Ruby's here waiting in the wings. He doesn't really have a strong... Well, if Blurzor gives him Cyclone, he does have a strong ultimate to steal away, but...
Okay, good sweeper, good sweeper. That is a hungry Silas waiting over that wall, and I think Jack Spectra realized it. Gets out of there.
It's like in Jaws, right? Where the hand is on the character and behind you can just see the fins start to sink underneath the water.
Yeah, it did feel a little... But just like in Jaws, they popped their sweeping lens.
Oh, yeah.
And
yeah, they popped
see
the red lens.
The red outline? Is that how Jaws went? It's a while since I've seen it.
Close enough.
Yeah, Ruby though, let's just quickly mention, not only is he Spartan 117 in his CS score, but he's also 2-0-2 right now. He's got an Everfrost already. And this is all before he's recalled after taking 5 plates in the mid lane. Ruby is going to be a monster in this mid game.
Yeah, so I'm not going to say that he might one-shot people, depending on what he bases on right now. But what I am saying is he's probably going to one-shot people when he comes back from base. Going towards the Sonya, so a little more, you know, utility, survivability, yes.
Not one-shotting people.
Not quite one-shotting people, but I suppose at the end of the day, when you're looking at abilities like Seismic Shard, when you're looking at Orn Ultimate, Cyclone as well, it just makes a little bit too much sense to have the stasis kind of prepped and ready to use in some of these team fights.
Also, there's a ton of visible damage. Ultimates coming on out on the bottom side, and the Heretics are sent packing. Great little play from Lurox, hiding in the brush. And now an opportunity for Shiganari to get a bit of gold for himself. Lurox is massive, by the way. 3-1-4 off of all of this early game presence on the Sejuani. I'm much preferring this pick in the jungle to what we saw in the top lane. It's Lurox just going to kick Blue Resort out of the bottom side.
Yeah, but I think for me, the big key difference between game number 1 and game number 2 is actually that Lurox has been more actively utilizing his lane priorities that he's had, right? When we saw game 1 with the priority from the Kalista on Shiganari, sure, threats were made, but nothing was actually gained from a lot of these plays. So far, it's more about been about getting the Rift Herald, getting, you know, plays towards the mid lane because you actually have a little more consistent setup from Ruby. Much more liking this, yes, in the jungle, but I also feel like Lurox as a player has been using his laners much more to his advantage.
Yeah, not just about the pick, also about the play here. Sparrow copy. Oh, Ruby just flashes in and it whips everything. It's an absolute disaster for him.
Does he care?
Call of the Forge God against Call of the Forge God, and Silas does it better once again. It's another kill for Scarface up in the top side, who is feeling fantastic on the gangplank.
Yeah, he really is. 202 Triforce build as well. Feeling spicy. I will hit on him. It's gone Grasp.
You're going to hit on him?
Whoa.
Oh my, it really is getting sexy initiative here.
But Gone Grasp, kind of boring. First strike, loads of damage, gold generation. I like it more as a gangplank player, personally. But with the Triforce build and that Grasp, he's going to be, you know, pretty obnoxious to actually take down all the bonus HP. I expect he's stacked up. As yeah, Blue Resort just continues to get forced out here.
Blue Resort, you know, he's going to look back with a bit of nostalgia at the times when he was allowed to take jungle camps. Because those years are gone. He's never allowed back into his jungle again. Get out the rose-tinted glasses, because that's the only way you're looking at jungle camps this time. Jack Spectra at least gets some solo time in the bottom side, thanks to Whitin threatening alongside him. Scarface won't be able to contest this tower. And getting gold into the Aphelios is always going to be valuable. He's procced his cull at this point, has the Gale Force. Usually have to wait until the 3 items for the Aphelios really to come online, but still good to have that late game insurance, and I think they're going to need to cash in on that insurance, because currently in the early game they're 5,000 gold down.
Yeah, and so much of that gold as well in the solo lanes. Even Lurox has gone Bammies into Warmogs. That's really Giga Chat. So, are you going to ask how it procs?
No, not necessarily.
Okay.
I was more going to ask, is this actually good for Unicorns? They got the Herald, but they've lost 2 towers on the bottom side in trade for it.
Well, they are giving it to Ruby, who's already snowballing. I would have really liked to have seen Ruby try and execute that tower to keep this Herald at full HP, but, you know, nitpicks, they should still get this tower regardless. But this play's taken so long, Heretics have reset, and they're going to be here to defend the tower. So this isn't even going to be a, you know, an equal tower trade here, like you say. And the gold value, remember, this is gold going into an Aphelios in comparison to, you know, kind of shared between tanks and Silas who's snowballing. So realistically, Heretics, yes, you know, still on a positive uptrade, but it feels even better because this gold is going into your late game insurance.
Yeah. The smite comes down, Ruby going to grab the blue buff. So talk to me about the Warmugs and the Bummies. I know you really want to talk about it. I just felt like the town traits needed to be mentioned.
Honestly, I don't really need to.
Blue Resort is going real deep for this one. Cyclone used, and Ruby buying some time with this stopwatch. Knocked up, though. There's the Wild Growth going to be used. Ruby keeps himself alive with the Kingslayer, trying to escape now on the top side of the plane, but he goes down. The whole squad is here from the Heretics. As you see, Jack Spectra moving over as well. And the Unicorns forced away. And Heretics, despite the gold deficit, they're still being aggressive, they're still being proactive, and they are taking names.
They really are. I mean, the only thing to me right now is that Gangplank going to be able to pick up that whole tier 2. Blue Resort goes really low. That tidal wave, they're still looking for a fight here, and here comes teleport.
More here. Shiganari, though, gets caught by the Moonlight Vigil. Jack Spectra, red and white. This is not the moment for the Unicorns, I fear. There's Lorax threatening in the side, but with the Caliber, look at the damage onto Shiganari there. And that will be the tower going down. No more contesting for the Unicorns.
Yeah, all right, let's just step away, guys. That's a blender for Seed 1.
Oh, yeah.
Unicorns, I think they're still going to be very happy to potentially reset, look towards the Dragon, maybe contest that. They are still very heavily in the lead right now in the gold department. Scarface just picked up a Collector. I think he's level 13. We'll see once the icon disappears. No, very close, though, as you can see indicated by the XP bar. And very much going to be more than joyous to try and take a team fight now once he hits that level 13 mark.
Yeah, Scarface is going to be really tough to deal with. And, you know, even though Shiganari not ahead in gold in that bottom side, 1,000 gold down, he's still Lucian. So ultimately, he's still going to be, you would assume, more impactful than the Aphelios. That said, though, Jack Spectra has been tearing people apart so far from what we've seen. And it feels quite tense as we move towards the mid-game. Drake going to be started up by the Unicorns, which will be one apiece here. No contest whatsoever from the Heretics. They instead move to the top side. Let's try and get vision around the Baron that's spawning in 40 seconds.
Yep, and this is pretty good call from Heretics, right? You know you're still far down in gold. Don't look for a fight, which you know you're probably just going to end up losing. Scarface could actually get caught out here. Felios is on his way. Jack Spectra.
Forge God, there's one knock up here.
Okay.
And the TP comes out. Lorax is here too. Jack Spectra stunned up by the max range and just obliterated. And now Ruby's here. And Call of the Forge God of their own. And Ibo will fall. The Unicorns will not be stopped. They want this momentum.
Lorax, that was sick. Predicts the Gale Force dash and still connects with the ultimate. Real slick thinking to ensure that he can get that lockdown, and the barrel placed right on top of Jack Spectra's forehead. Gets one shot. Ibo can do nothing but try and retreat. And you like the idea from Heretics, right? The only issue is, if you take a look at the minimap as this play is actually going on, first move is just available from Unicorns, and Lurox right around the corner. Such a nice ult from Sejuani, and yeah, almost stolen away by Ruby. Too much lockdown, too many members here. Ibo drops. Yep. Again, the idea from Heretics isn't terrible. Try and pick off this Gangplank. Look at his shutdown. It was probably a little bit smaller before that play, but if you can get that gold onto the Aphelios, that's absolutely perfect.
And you know, you mentioned the damage coming out from Scarface. Literally, like, pretty much 100 to 0 with a barrel and an auto. Like, that is terrifying.
Smile.
You mentioned the Collector coming up through. Now has a Zeal as well. He's going to build up that critical strike chance so we can go towards an Infinity Edge. And that's where things get terrifying for Jack. Jack needs to dodge every single barrel in the late game, or he's a goner.
Yes, he is indeed. And the thing is, if Unicorns are able to, kind of like game number 1, where we said that Heretics want to be in front of the objective first, if Unicorns can be that enter into the river first, you're always going to have to be walking into barrels, into, you know, Sejuani ultimates, tidal waves. It's the same thing, just reversed at the moment. Loads of peel tools mean that Unicorns can kind of just force the issue using the priority from the Lucian, which we saw from game number 1, and ensure that they always have favorable fights. Heretics, however, unlike game number 1, where Unicorns had pretty much no engaged tools, have engaged tools like this.
Blue Resort trying to get it, but Shiganari just dodges away, keeps himself alive. Lorax in the middle of everyone, but he's so tanky, just walks away with his life. So many tools you're used kind of on both sides here. It feels like we kind of had a little sparring match. Everyone just throws a bunch of ultimates in and walks away.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, Shiganari's ultimate's coming back up. Ruby still has an ultimate steal away, and the Gangplank ult is still there. They're not going to try and do anything too high-paced, like go towards a Baron, which, to be fair, given the items of Unicorns, I think they'll actually tear that one down in an instant. We'll just look to kind of disengage, and Lurox got chunked out quite heavily, but this is why you go Warmogs very early on in the game. Play for engage, doesn't work as long as you get out, you just heal, no need for a reset.
Yeah. Do you want to tell me about the Warmogs Barmies? I feel like you never got a chance. I feel like that's something close to your heart.
What it's not, but basically
all right then.
it's not, but I That sounded really rude. I'm sorry. But yeah, you can get the proc really early on. If Scarface shows himself, he could be in trouble. But Lurox is kind of close by.
Scarface could maybe.
I mean, if he gets a crit on the barrel, he would definitely come pretty close. To
he did just get enough gold to upgrade his ultimate again there as well, so he'll be able to trade in those doubloons. Grab himself, I would assume at this point, the second upgrade on his ultimate, but
it should be
not
the second. He's 224 CS, so I hope it is. That's another great ultimate from Lurox to force out Flash.
Man, Lurox has been so proactive. He's been so aggressive all game, just brute forcing advantages across the map. It feels like he has been everywhere and nowhere. He's a ninja on this. He's in the middle. Gonna be in so much trouble. Goes in for the Cyclone, but one more auto finishes the job. And Shiganari using the Lucian well. And well, what a way to find a pick.
That felt like a game 1 Jack Spectre culling though. Shiganari hitting like a truck right now. Still very, very strong. And now they're going to turn towards the Baron. 3 items available to Gangplank. Loads of crit damage. This is going to get melted. And there's no jungler from Heretics. No Ornn ultimate. No Talia wall. What will Heretics be able to get done to try and dissuade this?
Heretics need some kind of miracle to contest this one. Ruby has the Call of the Forge God Sparrow. Gonna just look to try and steal over the wall, but with the smite available, he went down to 200 HP. But now, Call of the Forge God gonna be used. Sparrow has no flash, but the knockup goes wide, and it means he will walk away.
Yeah, if that knockup connects, you have to imagine. Probably ends up dropping. Sejuani was a couple of seconds off cooldown on that play. And I didn't realize it's a Cloud Soul and Rift. I love to just derail everything, you know. Again,
Cloud Soul.
It's my job to spread the word of Cloud Soul, officially and unofficially.
Can I ask why? Does it matter at all?
In this game, honestly, it's not that high value.
No, I agree.
But
there's not many games where it is.
No, take that back.
No, I'll never take that back. If you're going to be the preacher of Cloud Soul, I'm going to be the antithesis. I'm going to be the enemy.
Wow.
Mr. Infernal Soul over here. I've got an orange jacket on. We're repping. Here we go. Oh, just one shot here. Shiganari has to escape and will do so.
Oh my god, why?
And the barrels come through as well. Everybody 1 HP on Heretics as they flee under their towers, desperate to cling to life. The unicorns. This is not the unicorns of love. This is the unicorns of sheer hatred as they charge into the base, demolishing the Heretics here. Over 10,000 gold lead as they take a bit in him.
Yeah, and they should be able to retreat, go pick up the, you know, maybe the 4th best dragon, but get themselves closer to the 2nd best soul in the game. Oh, look at this damage from Shiganari. Oh! I want to be sick and let's see, what is it? Is it Barrel that connects onto Whiten? Yep, 920 gold, followed up by Ruby. You can just see the AD carry champions are just so damn fair.
He's like, all me.
All me. I did that. That was me. All right. I finally picked up my death cap. I deal damage.
Yeah. All he had to deal was 100, but he did it. He absolutely did it. Unbelievable. Like, the burst damage coming out from the Unicorns now with a Gangplank and a Lucian. You see Shiganari go in, basically one-shot someone. Then you see Scarface go in, basically one-shot someone. And Ruby just comes in and finishes the job. Beautiful stuff. And I mean, what a one-sided game for the Unicorns here. And it kind of feels the opposite of game number 1. Like, despite how action-packed game number 1 was, it was ultimately a very one-sided game towards Heretics. Now we're seeing the same thing on the opposite direction, which to me says that we might have a bit of a series on our hands here, Mr. Chimada.
He said the phrase, guys. He said the thing.
The game's not even over.
It's not done. Yeah. Now this is the part where Heretics come back from 11,000 gold lead and win and go 2 up, right?
I mean, if they can pull that off, if they can pull that off, they absolutely.
I think they deserve
it. We're just giving them the series at that point. Like, forget the best of 5.
Just send them to finals. Forget semis.
Yeah, they get the buy. They get the free buy. Lurox gets a nice little ultimate here, but no follow-up from the rest of the team as Blue Azor. Gonna use the Cyclone just to try and disengage on this one, but the Unicorns can play this as slowly as they like. They know that Heretics cannot defend against the Baron up waves. They've still got a little bit of time. Oh no, the Baron now times out, in fact. But with the supers in the mid lane and with just the sheer gold difference, I'm not sure that this is defendable for Heretics.
No, I don't think it is. 3 items available to Shiganari. Effania still not there, and he's looking for an
Like, Shiganari actually survives that. He walks away with his life. And now Ruby just jumps into the middle of everyone again. This is the second time he's done it this game, but this time he lives with the Kingslayer. And the cannon barrage finishing the kill onto Jack as well. The Unicorns making it look sexy as they make their way underneath the Nexus towers. And we're going to go to a 1-1 scoreline. Shigenari does go down. Ibo getting a bit of revenge for what's happened in this game. Lurox got back as well. No way do they actually defend this one. Scarface is here to hit the towers down, but they've run out of minions. They actually can't end it. It's disaster for the Unicorns.
Yeah, are there teleport wards available for anybody to maybe get into a flank? It looks like the answer is no. Ibo and Zoru on the front line, so they're not going to try and pick up any of these kills on the escape.
This is kind of criminal, Shibata.
It is. Look, I agree. I mean, this is the like life sentence, 20 years. He's like, how does he get away with this, man? It's absolutely absurd. Absolutely just removes the Wukong from the team fight. Collected, Jack Spectre is by the Gangplank ultimate. And Ruby definitely steps a little bit too far forward after this, I believe. But still, able to escape. Lurox, actually, I beg your pardon. Takes a whole bunch of damage. Polymorph, too many tower shots. You are a tank, but you're not invincible at the end of the day.
Yeah. You're a tank, you're not a juggernaut. You know, this isn't the juggernaut patch. You can't survive that much.
I missed that patch, you know.
I really don't. I really don't.
You telling me you didn't
Garen Yuumi away from me. Alright,
you know what? My bad.
Probably don't make vomit noises on the broadcast.
Yeah, I get. Sorry, anybody that gets upset about that. That's my bad. My etiquette.
Do you know what?
That great.
I forgive you, Jamada. I can't speak for everyone at home, but I personally forgive you.
Chat, I hope you can.
It's a 13,000 gold lead. Realistically, we're in bonus time for Heretics at this point. There is absolutely, they have no right to still be in this game. That was Unicorns really being messy at the end of this one. You should expect Unicorns to be able to finish this one off. And I will say, I'm impressed by how much of a team effort this has been. That's right. It feels like every single player has been impacting. It feels like every single player has had an individual level of strength and an individual level of influence in the game. And it's not just been down to one player popping off, you know, this feels like a team effort.
Yeah, it really does, and I think massive shift up from game number one. It felt like, you know, Scarface, even Lurox to a degree, kind of muted by the draft that they were operating under Sejuani Trundle. Trundle could have got a lot more done in the early game. I still definitely hold true to that. I feel like the priorities weren't used as well as they were in game number two, but this time Scarface in a matchup where he's just super comfortable to farm up, and Lurox with Ruby this time actually pairing up more aggressively to take over the 2v2 in the mid jungle. Just meant that it's complete domination in this second game. And I really want to wonder, on top of everything, as this game should come to a conclusion relatively soon, what's going to happen with the Lucian pick? Because this is 2 games in a row where, sure, Shigenari might not have been the centerpiece of this victory, but it's been very influential in setting up for the rest of Unicorns to actually look for plays.
He was the centerpiece of that previous fight, right? Going in, almost one-shotting White in. Blue Resort tries to save his support and just dies to the culling alone. Is Baron going to be stopped for the time being? Ruby gets back over the wall. That's a
This is not a good fight.
Mirage. Stun comes down, barrels in as well. Sparrow turns gold to buy some time as the chains land. He goes, what? Where did he go? It's a magic trick as the double kill comes through. Scarface wants them all. Gets another with the auto attack. That's 4. Is he going to get the pen skill? No! His team just takes it away. In fact, I'm not even sure he got the 4 as Sparrow is down in the mid lane. Yeah. I can't count.
Maps is hard for play-by-plays.
Everything is hard.
Everything is hard for play-by-plays.
My brain don't do the numbers good. But you know what? Unicorns' brains do League of Legends good. It's 18-4 as the final scoreline as they push us to game number 3 in an even series.
Massive step up from Unicorns in this game number 2. And like I was mentioning, what's going to happen?